Hello, hope you guys are all keeping well. Happy New Year. So I thought today I'd update you on a couple of cases I've been working with recently because they're super interesting and I feel like I always learn something from every case. So I thought I'd share with you this time what I've learned from them. So they're both introductions. So by the time I went there, they had tried to introduce them. They'd spent some time together and like in both cases. And now we've gone back to separating them and starting off with the reintroductions from scratch. So on the first one, they had a cat already and another cat sort of moved themselves in. You know how stray cats do that, where they just sort of like are at the window like, please can I come in? And they lovingly took him in, and he needed to be looked after and he needed some help. So they were fantastic with that, and they've really done all the right things in terms of helping him and getting him a safe and loving home, which is so lovely. So that's that. But obviously it was him that really wasn't overly thrilled to be living with other cats, and sort of like he was the instigator in any sort of aggression that was happening during the meetings. So we knew we'd have to focus on his behaviour more than the resident one, because the resident cat was a bit more easygoing about it and she was scared of him because he'd been chasing her. But it seemed to be that as long as he left her alone, then she was fine. So we definitely needed to focus on his behaviour more to help the meetings go successfully, like to stop him chasing and scaring her. So once he was taken in, he was neutered and they put him into a spare room and were then ready to do the introductions. And they had like a dust barrier up, so one of those like mesh doors that people can get through but the cats can't because you like zip down the middle. And what we noticed when we did it this way around, so the new cat was on like the inside of the house, say, and the old cat was on the side where they could go outside. So he was essentially an indoor cat for a bit, which makes sense because we want him to recover and we want to be able to manage the meetings when they're there, so that's fine. But we couldn't make any progress because he just seemed so determined to get onto the other side, and he wasn't in like the mindset of meeting another cat. Like he wasn't really relaxed, and he always just seemed quite sort of intent on getting across the barrier. So after making no progress or no real progress with that, we've decided to swap them over. So now he was in like the other side of the house and could come and go through the cat flap and had that outside access again, and the old cat or resident cat was on the inside of the house. So she can still go outside, but they're having to sort of timeshare the outside space. So now things are going a bit more smoothly. So he's not so intent to get back into that side of the house because I guess there's nothing over that side that's super enticing, and he has got all sort of his needs met in that way with having outside access again. So it's still very early days doing it this way around, but before we weren't getting off the starting line and it was very frustrating, and we were getting to the point where we were like, nothing's really moving and how long can we do this where nothing's happening. Whereas now we're like, yay, we're seeing a little bit of progress. So I do think it's important, as much as you really like separate the cats and reintroduce them through a barrier, you do also need to give additional thought to who goes where and what sort of setup you can use, because everyone's home is different. And if you are using like a dust sheet or I always say dust sheet, but I mean dust barrier, like the doors, or if you're using like a baby gate, then you can set them up on different doors. So you can think about whether you do it on a bedroom door or living room door or through the hallway, or set it up in a way where both cats are happy in their respective spaces, and then you've got like this neutral area to do like the meets. So the next one I've been working with is 4 cats, and they're sort of like in pairs at the moment. So they had 2 already and then they adopted 2 more, and both bonded pairs. Well, pairs that get on really well, but they haven't had so much success mixing them up. So there's tended to be one cat that was most unhappy, but generally all 4 weren't really getting on too well. So what we've done so far is separate them into their pairs. And then it was like, well, what do we do now? Because they were doing another dust barrier meet with all 4. So that again, we had to think carefully about what areas to put them in, but happened to work that out fine. So they've been going really well. And then it was like, so how do we move on to meetings with no barrier? Like, do we do all 4? Because how difficult will that be to manage with no barrier in between? And there's only 2 people there, so it's not like you can have one person hanging out with each cat and keeping them distracted and keeping them sort of from chasing the other ones. So what we've done so far is just pick a pair, like one from each side, and just allowed them to meet. So we picked the one that was the more confident one and picked another confident one from the other pair, and then the family have been helping them spend time together, and it's gone well. There's been the odd like sort of swipe or hiss, but generally they're sharing a good chunk of time together now without any real issues, which is exactly what we want. We want no drama and just them hanging out, so that's getting really good. And then we're like, well, what do we do now? Because we've done 2, and we were thinking, well, next steps, so there's a few different options. So we could add another one in and do 3, but then again, how do we manage that? Because again, there's 3 cats there rather than 2, and you'd have to be pretty confident that one of them at least would definitely not cause any issues and would just mind their own business. Or we were like, we could take the other 2 and see if they can get on in the same sort of way, so then we've got at least like a good mix of 2 cats each that are getting on with the other pair. I mean, even as I'm explaining this is so complicated, isn't it? But it's just another sort of lesson that there's loads of different ways you can move forward. There's no sort of set way, and really it's just about doing what's manageable and how responding to how each of the cats are acting. So I'm hoping that, I think doing the other pair would be useful, and then maybe doing some cross pairings and seeing if that works out. But again, just by having 4 cats in the mix instead of 2, the workload in terms of how much time you have to put in to make that work is a lot, and I think I'm really not appreciating that until now, when this couple are like, now what? And it feels like it's a long way down, that the cats will, all 4 of them, be comfortable to hang out together. But anyway, that's my thoughts for this week. I hope those cases have been of interest, and thanks for listening. If you're still with me, next week I will be back in the office, thank God, because my hand is literally freezing on this walk. Hope you guys are all keeping well. I'll update you on those cases and other ones as we go through. And as always, do let me know if you have any questions. I'll be happy to answer them. Take care. Bye.